Hi guys, welcome to part three or video three, whatever you want to call it, of my series looking back at the history of the Collingwood Football Club and every player that has represented the black and white stripes. Yeah, lovely, lovely to have you back. Hope you're enjoying it. Got a few comments and likes and whatnot. Yeah, it's really touching to be honest. I've yeah, I always thought I was the only sort of person that found this stuff interesting, but yeah, if others come along for the ride, that's great. I must say I've listened back at some of the recordings. There's computer noises going on. The audio's cutting in and out. It's just terrible. I'm so sorry. I will um, I will promise to improve over time. Um, I've got some contacts sort of on YouTube here that know a lot more than I do. They might be able to steer me in the right sort of direction. But yeah, just put up with it for a bit, please. Anyways, today we kick off with our player nine, Rhoda McDonald. Robert Ernest McDonald, better known as Rhoda, was born on the 29th of April in 1878 in South Melbourne. His original teams were South Adelaide, so he must have spent some time in South Australia, and then through the Collingwood Juniors. An 180 centimetre follower, he would play in that 1896 VFA flag before the transition to the VFL, where he would play the singular year for the Pies in 1897, chalking up 9 games for 2 goals. Then play a few more games for Carlton some 4 years later in 1901. We don't know what happened in that 4 year period. Unfortunately, not much is known about Rhoda McDonald's life. We have confirmation that he was a bootmaker by trade, as a lot were in the Collingwood area back then, and an obituary after his death on the 4th of December 1937, aged 59, in New South Wales reads, McDonald. The relatives and friends of the late Richard Ernest McDonald are invited to attend his funeral to leave his late residence, Jensen Street, Bankstown West, this day at 2 p.m. for the Catholic Cemetery, Rockwood. For player number 10, we have Jack Monahan Sr. John James Monahan Sr., better known as Jack, was born on the 21st of August, 1873, in Yan Yan, Victoria, with his 16 siblings. That's right, 16 siblings. Yan Yan is pretty much just a reservoir these days, directly north of Melbourne, up near Whittlesea. A product of the Collingwood Imperials, he would start at the VFA club in 1893, being part of that 1896 VFA flag before the transition to VFL, where he would play 171 games for the Pies for 7 goals. The well-built centre half back stood at 184 centimetres tall and was considered the best mark in the game for his time. Also a high leaper, combining these two made him the standard in which others would be measured to. Jack worked at a timber yard in South Melbourne, and legend suggests that this was his secret to being stronger than the rest as a result of his work on the bandsaw. A quote from the Sportsman says, "His marking was immense. He went up in the air as if he were going to paint the clouds black and white, and descended from his aerial flights to Mother Earth time after time with the ball in his hands." In 1903, he would be part of the club's flag. He was awarded with Victorian captaincy at the conclusion of that season as well, and he held it for a couple of years after that, mind you. However, in 1906, he and Dick Condon, who we spoke about a couple of videos back, would be stood down for disciplinary issues. I believe they were they went up against the committee about some issue and they were stood down. And he would only play one more game for the Pies in 1907 before moving back to the VFA for a couple of years. As well as the Flags, Jack was made a life member of the club and was included into the Collingwood Hall of Fame in 2012. In 1913, he would come back to be a VFL goal umpire for 13 years and 181 games. Jack died on the 27th of August, 1934, aged 61. An obituary in the Age reads, Monohan, at his residence, 165 Rupert Street, Collingwood, Jack, the beloved husband of Ethel and loving father of Jack Jr., that is, Millie and Dory, I think it's Dory, at rest. Player number 11, we have a man called Bill O'Brien. Bill was born on the 23rd of March, 1877. The 175 centimetre halfback flanker was recruited from West Melbourne and started with the Pies in their new VFL era team in 1897, playing 16 games that year. Amassing 67 games across his 4 years at the club. Unfortunately, Bill did not show up to play a couple games in his time, giving the club no reason or forewarning. He and the committee never saw eye to eye during his time at the Pies. I think, from what I could gather, he was a little bit of a troublemaker, I guess, or he loved to question a lot of decisions. Anyways, it resulted in his departure at just 24 years of age. He would move to Rose of Northcote and be captain there for 4 years, potentially 5. The records they're not accurate. Other than this, we know little more about Bill and the remainder of his life. We do know he died on the 31st of March in 1942. For player number 12, we have a man named Thomas Paterson. Tom was born on the 26th of October in 1874 in Northcote. An 182 centimetre follower, he spent a singular year at the Pies in 1897 after being recruited from Preston, amassing 9 games during that year. Unfortunately, we don't have a photo of Tom, nor too much detail around him. We know his father William would work as a magistrate at Preston Court for 25 years and own a ham and bacon factory where Tom worked, also in Preston. We also know that Tom had a brother called James, who was a fine cricketer, and took the wicket of W.G. Grace in what seems to have been a warm-up match for the touring Poms. Couldn't find the actual record of the game, however, it comes up consistently when you sort of look for it. But yeah. We know that Tom, in his 7th game against Carlton, would be judged 3rd best of field. But his 9th game against Essendon would be his last. They're not really sure why, but the common belief is that Tom, a deep lover of cricket also, and a promising all-rounder, returned to Preston to focus on that. Tom would pass away on the 11th of September in 1945 at age 70. I was able to find a death notice in the Argus, Paterson, on September 11, suddenly, up at Bethesda Private Hospital. Not sure where that was. It's a Melbourne newspaper, but yeah, Bethesda Private Hospital only came up in Perth. I sort of really couldn't find it. But anyways, Thomas of 45 Martin Street, Thornbury, beloved husband of the late Hannah and loved father of Thomas Jr., Alison, Bertha, Ethel, Avona, or Avona, I think, and Donald. Rest in peace. All right, thanks, guys. That concludes this third part of this series. As always, please like and subscribe. All the good stuff. Any color or detail, or if you want to do a deep dive yourself into some of these individuals, and yeah, I'm more than happy to make more videos if other stuff comes up. But yeah, I really have sort of looked into it as best I can. So if anyone wants to come along the journey with me and research and whatnot, I'd be more than happy to have any contributions, really, because more hands make light work, as they say. But anyways, thanks again. I'll see you on the next one.